Alright, so here is our outing for today. Before we go out on any outing, we always make sure that we give Gordo the opportunity to go to the bathroom, so that way we don't have any accidents in the store. Today we're going to Hobby Lobby. I'm doing a voiceover after the fact.
Bowie. Good job.
Normally when we do these outings, I want to make sure that 100% of my focus is paying attention to Gordo and paying attention to what's going on around us to make sure that he is successful. So, these videos are not just to show off how great he is, because he is doing wonderfully. It's also to continue to educate you on how you should be handling Gordo when he goes home. The biggest thing with a dog like him, he's very smart, but he's also very pushy, meaning he's going to kind of push to see what he can get away with. So it'll be important for you to stay consistent with him after he's done training with us. So what I want you to pay attention to is how I use my commands, how I use my words, how I use my leash. We are going to go over all of this when we do your lessons. But you can start to pay attention to them in these videos as well. So you'll notice the first thing I want you to pay attention to is when I give him a command like sit, I only say it one time. After I've said it once, I either am going to use leash pressure to help him do the behavior, meaning I will pull up on that leash until he goes into that sit, meaning I've said it once, and if he doesn't do it on his own, then I'm going to apply that leash pressure until he does. So I've only had to say it one time. If we're in a situation where he should be able to do the behavior on his own, and I'm very confident that he should be able to do it, then if I give that command and he doesn't do it on his own, I can use what's called a correction. And that's when you might see me use what's called a leash pop, and that's like a sudden kind of little yank on the leash. And that's usually after I've told him no. So if I say sit and he doesn't sit, then I will say no, I'll pop that leash. I might remind him to sit and then again apply that leash pressure. But I only use corrections in a situation where I'm very confident that he should be able to do the behavior on his own.
No, sir.
In situations like this, where we're in a store, where there's a lot of people, there's a lot of noises, where it might be kind of very distracting for him, I would expect it to be much more challenging for him to be able to do these behaviors. He's been doing a really good job with them anyways, but he's definitely putting in a lot of work, and so he's doing a good job. But if it is a situation where I'm saying, I know it's going to be really challenging and he might not be successful, I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway, meaning instead of just going straight to those corrections, I'm going to use that leash pressure to kind of help him into the behaviors. So if I ask for a sit and he doesn't do it right away, and I know it's because he's overly distracted, I'm going to use that leash pressure to help him sit instead of immediately just punishing him for failing to do it. I think the biggest challenge for him is definitely his wanting to go say hi to people, especially, in these public settings. We aren't dealing with dog trainers all around us, whereas, in my home, when we have other people around, they are dog professionals, and so they know not to talk to the dogs, not to look at the dogs, not to, distract the dogs. But when we bring a big, beautiful dog like Gordo out, everyone is like, oh my God, he's so beautiful, look at that dog. And they might kind of walk right up to him, stare at him in the face, even like reach out for him. And that is always very tempting for him because he wants to go and say hi to them. So, we're preparing him for real life situations where those things are going to happen. But he has to understand that he does not get to go say hi to people, even if they walk up to him. What we will do as we create this control going forward is we will teach him how to appropriately say hi. But that will come later after he knows how to not just go up to people without permission. And so we want to start with the default being you don't go up to people, period. So once that becomes the default, where he automatically, ideally, just ignores people, or at very least has enough impulse control in his obedience not to go up to people, then we can start to say, you can go up to people when I give you the opportunity and the command to go up to them. And when you do that, this is how you're going to do that. So those are the next steps that we will be taking. First and foremost, we really want to focus on that impulse control. So I know one of the big things is him not going after the cats. We don't want him reacting to other dogs. We don't want him running up to people overexcitedly and nipping and things like that. I know these are all things we went over in the consultation, or you went over it with Benny, but we are going to start with that impulse control before we start to allow him to go back into situations where he's practicing those behaviors that we want to really curb at this point. So that's our primary focus, is impulse control, maintaining obedience, staying focused on his handler. And the other thing I want you to pay attention to is making sure you see how frequently I am rewarding him. I want him to think that he is getting rewarded so frequently because that way he's going to keep his attention on me. I want him to essentially think that if he looks away, he's going to miss out the opportunity to get some food. I also want him to know that every time he sees something distracting, he should be expecting food from me. So what I'm actually doing is I am strategically timing a lot of my rewards for when there's something distracting present that he's able to kind of notice and then stay engaged with me afterwards. So if he sees somebody and then he looks back at me, I reward. If he hears a loud noise and looks up at me, I reward. And I want that to be a routine that he practices on a regular basis, where I might have him see things that are distracting and then immediately look back at me. This way, it's going to ideally become a habit where whenever there's something highly distracting or highly enticing in the environment, the cue is for him to look at his handler. So that's how I like to approach very high levels of distraction, is for him to take that as a cue to engage with his handler more. Just taking a little break. This is a lot of work for him. I definitely think he's still pretty out of shape. I think he's lost a little bit of weight, maybe like a pound or two. He's looking really good. You can definitely tell his sits are becoming a lot more comfortable. I think we have been able to exercise those muscles and those tendons to make his ability to sit a little bit better. I can tell he's a lot more comfortable going in and out of that sit. I think we just had to kind of build those muscles that he hasn't used very much recently. So now that he's been working out those muscles and stretching out those joints, I find those are a lot easier for him to do those sits. But he still kind of gets winded when we're doing these long walks like this. I also, when I'm doing these outings, I try to walk with a purpose, meaning I don't dilly-dally too much. I want to kind of keep a relatively quick pace. This is to help prevent him from having time to really get too distracted. We've only done a handful of outings so far, and so we're not quite perfect at them yet. We're not at a high level of obedience in these public places yet. We're kind of still at a basic level, but now we're in public settings doing that basic level. At the house, he's, probably well into intermediate by now, but, once that distraction level goes up, the behaviors are a lot more challenging for him, so we're going to make sure we're helping him be successful by kind of moving quickly, keeping him focused on the task at hand. We're not going to sit in one place for too long. We're not going to, walk slowly as if we're browsing and give him time to browse for things to look at and get distracted by. You might actually notice a couple times he got distracted by something that was on a shelf or a stuffed toy or something that piqued his interest, and he kind of, as you can see him looking around here, if he sees something interesting, he tries to stop. But we're just going to keep walking, saying, hey, you better pay attention to me because this train is rolling and you got to stay on board with us. So he's doing a good job. The last thing we do on this outing is when we get back to the entry exit way, which is also where the cash registers are, I like to do a little kind of stay, we just kind of sit there for a little bit and watch the people walk by, listen to the people at the registers, and just hanging out and listening and watching, saying that there's going to be all these people around. See right there, you got a little distracted. There's going to be all these people around, but you don't get to go say hi to any of them. So when you're out with me and you're on this leash, your job is to be focused on me and pay attention to where we're going. So again, you'll kind of watch as you see people walk by. When we do get back to that register area, every time someone walks by, you'll just see me reward. Every time someone comes, pushes a cart by or there's a loud noise, I just reward. So here is the register area. So we're going to stop and have a little sit. Hobby Lobby has become a bit busier than the last time we were here. I think as we get closer to Christmas, it's going to continue to be very busy, which is good because, we like that increased distraction level as we progress with our training. But yeah. So again, I want you to pay attention to these videos as a learning opportunity for you. Go back and watch the other video of the outing we did. Look for how I use my commands. I say the command one time and, either he does it, or I have to help him do it, or he gets a correction for not doing it on his own. But these are things that I want you to pay attention to because these are things you're going to learn how to do in your lesson as well. So start to pay attention so that way when it is time for you to learn, you already have it, kind of have an idea of what we're going to be doing. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I would love to have you in for a lesson anytime you're ready. You can definitely come in and do a lesson throughout his whole training program here, as well as after the training program. I think it's a lot more beneficial if you're learning alongside with him. That's why I do these videos. And feel free to ask me any questions you like about the training, any clarification you would like to get, let me know. I'm huge on owner education, so please hit me up with any questions you like. Don't hesitate, all right? And yeah, all right, I will talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of this video. Sit. Breathe. Heel. Stop. Good. There you go, sir. Heel. Sit. There you go. Slide. Heel. Heel. No. Heel. No. Heel. Good. Gordo. Hey, Tony. Gordo. Free. Go potty. Gordo. Kennel. No. Kennel. There. Kennel. Wait.